It wasn't before. Let's see. Hello, neighbor. Alicia Dolan here at Creating in My Corner. It's been a minute since I have been here with you, and I'm trying to remember all the things I'm supposed to remember. So, hopefully I am live. I feel like I am, but I am not sure. And I don't know how to check. So if you can see or hear me, if you're watching, and you can comment or maybe give a thumbs up or something, then that would be great. I cannot tell for sure if I'm live or not. Let me see if I can. Maybe I can tell if I open up Google and I'm not myself. Sometimes it is really tricky figuring these things out. You almost need like a, I don't know, some kind of tech support person while you're here. I don't know how that works. I don't know how people figure out if they're live or not. Sometimes I can tell, sometimes I can't. Oh, Kathy, good. I see your comment. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, Kathy. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with our Stampin' Sunday episode. So I called it an episode because that's what I grew up with, was episodes. And so somehow this feels like a little series to me. So that's what I'm going with. It's Stampin' Sunday episodes. All right, and this week, this past Friday, was my in-person card class. And so I wanted to show you the cards that we made. And then I thought, well, I have one kit left over, so I might as well show you the whole class. Now, in person, this class takes 2 hours. But I'm going to try and move quickly, and we're only going to make one of each card, so I'm hoping that we can get through this in an hour or less, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So let me turn the camera around and we'll get started. And hopefully, if you want to, you can stamp along with me. I'm not going to go super fast, but let me. All right, and now see, I can still see you. I'm down here in the little corner. I'm learning things. But you should be able to see my workspace here, and I'm going to show you first the cards that we made. And this was the first one. I really love this Meandering Meadows paper, so you may notice that I've used it several times, and I will probably use it several more. So if you're looking to order this, though, you're only going to find it online. It's an online exclusive. So our first 2 cards tonight both feature that Meandering Meadows paper. All right, and then at the in-person class, I offered a choice, and people could make one of each of these. And let me pull it up a little closer so you can see what it says. Or they could make 2 of the same. So everyone had the pieces in their kit to make one of each or 2 of the same. And then the last one was this card, and I know that it looks different. Both variations look a little bit different color-wise, but I used almost exactly the same materials except for a darker stamp on this one, and then I colored darker, but both of these are colored using watercolor pencils. So there's no difference there, just I colored over this one more times. So we'll only be making one of those tonight. So if you come to a class, if you ever come to a class, get an opportunity. This is kind of the packet. No, this is not the packet you will get. This is actually my extra supplies. So hold on a second. Hello, Kim. I'm so glad that you and Kathy are here. I'm gonna go through the cards from Friday night's class. I might have said last night. It wasn't last night. It was Friday. All right. So this actually is the packet you would have gotten if you had come to class, or if you come to class in the future. They're always a little bit different, but you get all of the paper and embellishments that you need to make your cards. So tonight we're going to go through, we're going to make one of each of the cards. I'm glad that you're able to eat chicken soup though. I know how it is when you're sick, and that once you finally get to the point where you can eat again, that's, I feel like it's the best thing ever. All right, so when you get your packet, you're just going to slide everything out, and this time there are two sets of paper. So this is the paper for our second card, and it's actually, this paper comes in 12 by 12. Here, let's see if you can see that. This paper is so pretty. What's it called? Nature's Sweetness, I think. And it's so pretty. So that's actually for, we're only going to use 2 pieces of this tonight. So then whatever's left, that's yours. And then here's my favorite, Meandering Meadows. I'm sure I'll have a new favorite soon, but this is my current favorite. Look how pretty that. It's just so pretty. It's all watercolored. It makes beautiful cards. Quick and easy. I don't know if it's going away or not because it's an online exclusive. And to be perfectly honest, I haven't printed out the list yet of what's retiring. So I don't know for sure. But there are some really beautiful new papers too that are coming in. Now, that won't be until May, which is obviously coming much sooner than I thought it was going to. But that's what that is. Okay, so our first card is going to be this one. And since we're only making one, let me slide out the pieces that we're going to need here. So we're going to need a card base and then a piece of white. This I give you for the inside of your card. Most cards are not going to need a piece inside, a white piece, but I like to have it anyways. So I feel like it makes your card a little bit sturdier, and it's kind of nice to have that white to write on instead of writing just on the card. All right, and then there's a piece of Blackberry Bliss. I die cut this from the All That dies, and this I know is going away, and I'm really sad about it. That I love these dies. All right, and then I die cut 2 little hearts, and these are from the Crafting with You bundle, which I really like. I like these little tiny shapes that are in there. All right, so we're only going to make one of these. And then the next thing we have to do is choose our piece of paper. And you can choose, I feel like any one of these would be a great choice. So, and actually, since our two pieces are, our two cards only use a 3-inch piece, we could choose any one of these and use them for both of our cards. Here, let me show you real quick what I mean. So these two cards are the first two we're making. And see this little panel right here? So both of those are 3 inches wide. And that means you can get 2 cards out of one piece of 6x6 designer series paper. All right, so which one do I like the best? I don't know. I think we'll go with this one. I like that. Okay, let's be honest. I like them all. But this is the one we're going to go with. All right, so the way we're going to start is we're going to take our designer series paper. I'm going to put it in my trimmer here at 3 inches. And I'm going to cut it there. All right, and I'm going to set this one aside because this one I am going to use on my next card, on the blue card. I'll have to check, Kim, and see if that paper is going away later. Now, on the back of my card, this time I was smart and I wrote down my measurements. So, our designer series paper is going to be cut 5 by 3. And I kind of want more of this bottom path to show up on mine. So I'm going to cut off the top inch. So I'm going to cut it here at 5. And then we're going to cut it so that it's in 1-inch strips. So we'll have 3 1-inch strips. So there. Now, when I did this the first time, I did not keep my strips in order. So if you want your picture to show up correctly, I would suggest that until you glue your pieces down, you'll kind of keep them in the same order. All right, and what we're going to do is, I'm going to set this stuff to the side just for a moment. Now, I'm going to glue the sides first and then the center, because I feel like that's the easiest way to get them all lined up right. All right, come on, glue. So we're going to take our liquid glue and we're going to do a thin line around the edge. I'm trying to make sure I leave some space for me to hold on to here. A little squiggle in the middle. And then I can pick it up there where I left that smidge of a spot. And I'm going to line it up on the edge so that I've got about, that's probably about 1/8 of an inch there. And I'm going to glue that one down. Then I'm going to grab the one for the other side and do the same thing with the glue. I like the liquid glue. It's my favorite. I know not everyone loves it, but that's okay. We all have to have a favorite thing, right? What I like about it is that it gives me, in general, a second to see how I can kind of wiggle it around a little bit. If it's not exactly in the right spot, I can kind of scoot it. And I am funny about that. I really like things to line up. I like them to line up just right. Okay, and then last, we're going to put this one in the middle. Now, if you came to the class and you already heard me talk about all this, hopefully I will still be able to give you some hints that maybe I might have forgot in person. I try to remember when I'm teaching these classes that if I talk out loud, how much space is on the edges? I'm going to measure it just because you asked that. I do think it's about 1/8 of an inch. And it is, it's really close to 1/8 of an inch. So this piece right here is 3.5 by 5.25, the Blackberry Bliss. And then these each are 1 by 5. Okay, and I will write up a tutorial and I will send it out so that everybody has this and you can recreate these later. Okay, and now we're gonna stamp right on here. Let me see where I, oh, sorry about that. Let me grab my stamp set. And I use the Garden Meadow set. Now, I think this is staying current. I think it's staying current. I don't know for sure, but I absolutely love this set. Yeah, there's not a stamp in here that I don't like. Well, I don't know how much I would use the little shovel and the little rake, but they're cute. They're very cute. I love the boots. I love all the little flowers. I love these little birds. I don't even know what kind of birds they are, but they're super cute. Okay, but right now we're gonna grab this Thinking of You. And I have to tell you, I just got the Blackberry Bliss ink. I love it. It's so, so, so pretty. All right, hold on. I had the wrong size block there. It is similar to the rain boots. I love that rain boots. The rain boots, what was it? It was a paper pumpkin, right? That was one of my favorites. I really liked it. All right, and then here's our Blackberry Bliss ink. And as you can tell, my stamp has already been pretty stained up. This is probably one of my favorite Thinking of You stamps. It's a good size. It fits on a lot of different. All right, and now I am gonna practice stamp. You know, I like to do that. I'm a little funny about that. Some people can just ink up and stamp right away. I have to practice stamp. All right, so we're going to try and get it right in the center, or at least not crooked. And it's not bad. Now it's really dark, probably because I inked it up twice. But you're probably not even going to know it's Blackberry Bliss. But I love this color. I just got it, and I feel like I'm going to use it all the time, even though blues are my favorite. All right, so here is our first card, Thinking of You, and we have these 2 little hearts. And I have already scored my, let's see if you can see that. If I twist it a little bit, can you see that score line there? I've already scored my card. I know a lot of the time people just fold them in half. Like I told you, I'm a little funny and I have to do things the same way every time. So I always score my card and then I'm going to press it with a bone folder just to make sure it's nice and tight. So then on the inside is where I'm going to put my piece of white. I kind of need to get that a little bit out of the way. I don't know why, but I feel crowded tonight. There's a lot of stuff down here in my corner. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna do a nice thin line around the edge. And now, if you're using this liquid glue, like I do, and you're doing this thin line around the edge, the one thing you're gonna want to do, well, one of the things, is you don't want to press this tip really hard on your paper. Because if you press hard while you're gluing, the lines are going to show up on the other side. They already have a chance to simply because the glue kind of wears on the paper a little bit. So we're going to line it up along the edge. And this inside piece is 4 by 5 1/4. When my white paper comes, I usually take probably about 5 pieces and I cut them just when I'm sitting around not doing much before I have any fabulous, fantastic ideas. I cut them and I put them all in a little clear envelope. I was going to try and show you. And then when I'm making cards or doing whatever, I have a whole envelope full of 4 by 5 1/4 because that's a size I use a lot. I also have one that's 3 1/4 by 5 and 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. Just because those are sizes I use a lot and it makes my card making faster when I'm trying to prepare for class or if I'm trying to make a whole bunch of cards at once. All right, so there is that. Then we're going to take our Blackberry Bliss piece and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put a little glue around the edge and a squiggle down the middle. We're going to flip it over and kind of center it. Now it's going to be, this is not a size I usually use, but I thought it was kind of nice when thanks, Kim. I really like to, sometimes I like to sit and really make cards fast, and fast is not my thing. So if I want to be quick, I have to think of all the little tricks I possibly can before I get started. Okay, so now we're going to take our Thinking of You, we're going to turn it over, and this is one of the only times you're going to see me use Stampin' Seal. I like Stampin' Seal. It's growing on me, but it's still not my go-to adhesive. But I put 2 little lines on the back, and then I'm going to take my baker's twine, and this pack is a little off because it should come with 5 colors, right? It has smoky slate, very vanilla, black, crumb cake, and white. And I just tucked another black in there. I must have had it left over from something else. So now I'm going to take that that baker's twine and I'm just going to lay it across that adhesive. All right, and then I can double it back the other way. And trim it. And then I'm going to grab some Stampin' Dimensionals. And I'm going to stick them on the back. I got to cut my edges here. If you don't know, you can always cut your edges so that you use all of your dimensional sheet. One time I saw someone throw that away with all those little edges still on there, and it almost broke my heart. I know that sounds silly, but I cannot stand to see our craft supplies be wasted. That makes me sad. Of course, I have a hard time throwing most things away. So that's a problem over here too. All right, I need to scoot this one just a little bit so that my bow is a little more even. There we go. And then I'm just going to stick this right down here. And you can cut a tiny piece of one of these dimensionals. There's a little tiny piece right here that looks perfect. and I'm going to stick it on this heart. Trying to use my nails, and I was outside today and I totally destroyed them. I don't know if you can see that or not, but they are cracked and I put a little clear polish over them just to try and save them, but I was tearing up. All right, I'll tell you what I did so that you can not do this. So I have two little raised box gardens out in the back, two little boxes, and we're going to put our little heart right down here. Hopefully I can pay attention to what I'm doing as I talk. And then on the inside, we are going to put our other little heart. Just so that when you open up the card, there's a little something. I like there to be a little something in there. All right. Let's see if I can put this on without getting sticky. Oh, well, it's going to be close now. All right, I'm just going to stick it down here in the corner. All right, so what I did with my raised boxes, we have rabbits and all kinds of little critters here, and I have a dog, right? She's always getting into everything, digging in stuff. So I knew that I needed some kind of fence around it, but I did not want to pay for a real fence. So what I did was I had two cattle panels that I stuck along one side of the garden, and then I had two of those, you know, those tall shepherd's hooks that you hang plants on. I put those in the front two corners, so my two boxes were, you know, lined up like one here, the cattle panel along the back, and the two posts along the front. And I had some old chicken wire, and I thought, well, why can't I just use that? I wrapped that chicken wire around there and like tucked it into the ground so that the rabbits could not get under. All right, so we're moving on to the blue one. I'm going to pause my gardening conversation for a moment. So we're going to need our card base. We have a piece of white for the inside, a piece of white for the front that is embossed, and I'll show you that up close in just a minute. I think I just put that on the sticky spot. That's not too bad. We have our piece of balmy blue for the front, our designer series paper, and then another label from the All That Dies. So if those All That Dies are still available, you might want to get those. They're really fantastic, and I don't think I'll be getting rid of mine. I'm gonna keep using it. Oh, and I better clean this off before I forget. Now, I do want to show you this too. All right, so this is my little mini chamois. I made these for one of my classes. So I had a class. Every time I have a class, I try to include something special. So sometimes it's just a sheet of gems. Sometimes it's a ribbon. But this one time, I made these little mini chamois. They're made from our Stampin' Up chamois. I cut them into fours. I bought these little boxes, and I got some vinyl, cut it out, and made these cute little mini chamois. Now I take it everywhere I go when I go crafting other places, because you always need a chamois. All right, that's the wrong, I just grabbed the wrong stamp set. Okay, and I put this thinking of you back away. All right, anyway, with the chicken wire, don't do it, because I just had to get it back out of the ground because it started to sink down. It's falling down to the ground. It's making a mess. Cutting up my arms when I go out there to work. So I really needed to take it down, and my husband could not weed whip around the garden with it the way it was. It took a huge lot of effort to get that chicken wire out of there, and I tore up some of the ground with it, like whole chunks of ground were coming along. So if you ever have a brilliant idea like that, you may want to, at the end of the season, at the very least, take it down before it has time to solidify and become one with the grass around it. It's now down, and I will be investing in a real fence to go around my little tiny garden. All right, so there we go. Our blue piece is cut. Here's our piece for the inside. Our piece for there. Okay, I wanted to show you this. This also is retiring. Okay, this comes in the Basics 3D embossing folders. I don't even know if they're still available. There were 3 of them. This one with polka dots, and one that was kind of like stars. They're all really great. This one is my absolute favorite. I call it the hashtags embossing folder. I'm sure you can see why. Okay, so now we've got our piece of designer series paper. This one is 3 inches wide, right? Right now it's 3 by 6. And we're going to cut this one 3. Can that be right? Hold on. Yes, it can. But 4 and yeah. All right. Sorry, I had to double check myself. It didn't look right to me. So we're going to cut this one 3 by 4 3/4. And this balmy blue is cut 3 1/8 by 4 7/8. Now, I don't usually do measurements in 8ths because it's a lot, right? It's a little trickier, a little harder to manage, but I really like that it just has that little thin edge around it. Sometimes I just want a tiny border, not a big one. All right, so what did I say I was going to cut this at? 4 3/4. All right, so let's see. This time I'm going to cut off. Am I going to cut off the sky? Yes, I think I am. All right. So now this piece is going to go on this blue one. And this time it's just a tiny border. That's like, I don't know, that's not even 1/8 of an inch. It's probably a 16th. It's really small. But see how I can scoot it a little bit when I use that liquid glue? That's really why I like that liquid glue. All right, then we're going to put this embossed white on the front of our card. Anyway, I tell you that not because I don't want you to use up leftover chicken wire that's hanging out around your place if you have that. I just want you to be aware that sometimes our plans get weeds. I have a lot of plans. Sometimes they get weeds. And it takes a while to get those weeds out. But have I been paying attention all along, I would have taken care of some of those weeds in the meantime. So this is not, I'm trying to be bossy. I'm not trying to be bossy, but I think if we pay attention to the weeds in our lives, if we're constantly working to clear them out, then we'll have an easier time when we go to grow things. So, and I was just thinking how that kind of carried over into other areas of my life. Sometimes I let the weeds grow up and choke out my plants. All right, now I wrapped around the crumb cake baker's twine. I wrapped it around 2 times, and I'm going to tie a little bow. Just like that. I'm gonna try and pull it a little bit smaller, but I already tightened it. So once you tighten a bow, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but if you go to pull the ends, a lot of the time it'll curl up, and that can be a little frustrating. Okay, so I just went to get another pair of scissors out. How many pairs of scissors do we think I need on my table? Probably about 15, right? So that they're always there where I can find them. Okay, so now we are going to turn this over, grab our dimensionals again, and this time I'm going to put them on the corners. Scissors are super important, and you know what's funny about that is I just bought 3 more pairs of scissors about 2 weeks ago. I got one for each of my kids for their rooms so they will stop stealing the kitchen scissors, which really need to be in the kitchen. And I got 1 pair for myself just to keep in my room, because lately I have found sometimes I need to be sent to my room. And sometimes when I go there, I want to just sit and do a quiet craft like knitting until I have decided that I can behave in public, and then I can go back out with my family. All right, so this is where we're at right now. I am going to do my stamping now. So on this little oval, I want to use one of these messages from Comforting Thoughts. I don't know if you have this stamp set or not, but this is probably one of the best stamp sets for just sending a card that says you care. So there's lots and lots of good little sentiments on here. I really like this one. I don't have all the right words to say. I do have lots of love to give. There's one that says, there's no good card for this. There are so many times that I send a card and I need a sentiment like that. But this time we're going to send wishing you comfort, mostly because that fits really nice on our little oval. Okay, and then we need our black pimento ink. And I know that I inked this up not too long ago, so as I'm inking up my stamp, I'm not pressing really hard. I'm just kind of laying it on there and letting it soak up some ink. The set with the scripture verses. I know. Let's see. Hold on. There is one. There's one called Courage and Faith. That's the one we used before. But I feel like there's going to be one in the new catalog, and I can't remember what the name of that one is right now. All right. So we're going to stamp Wishing You Comfort. Perfect, perfect. Okay, and before you go to clean your stamp, this is just a little tip. If you stamp off on a little piece of scrap paper, then your chamois won't get quite as dirty. You're still going to want to wash it once in a while, but I try to keep mine as clean as I can, and that seems to really help if you stamp off a little bit just before you chamois. All right, so let's put our Wishing You Comfort in here. Trying to think where's going to be the best place for me to find everything later. Okay, so we're going to put this on the front. We're going to use some more dimensionals. If you can't already tell, I love dimensionals. I use them all the time. And I really can't believe what a difference they make. It's just a little thing, but it makes a huge difference. Okay, so we're going to put our little Wishing You Comfort right here. Hopefully you can see okay. Can you guys see okay? I feel like it's kind of far out, maybe. Maybe next time I'll try to get a little closer, but I kind of want you to be able to see all of what I'm doing at the same time. All right, so now we're going to just take this other piece and we're going to put that on the inside. You could leave it like this if you didn't want to add the white. But I really like a piece of white on the inside. And sometimes I do stamp on that piece that goes inside, but not always. And sometimes I don't know what I want to stamp until I go to send the card. I might want to put something specific in there. Right, so there's our first two, and I didn't even add any gems to them yet, but I did add, could be a little closer. Okay, let's see. I don't know if I can zoom in. I don't think I can, but next time, maybe maybe, hold on, let's see. I can bring my camera down a little bit. Right, I think that's probably as close as I can get without elbowing it. So there's our two cards, our first two. So tonight we're gonna try to make the full 4. I don't think we're gonna go 2 hours, but it's gonna be close. And let me show you the first ones with the little gems on them. So see those little shiny, they're iridescent pearls. So you could add those if you want to. All right, so there are the first ones. And then, all right, here is the next one. Now, I think because my in-person class person chose this gold one, I think we'll make the gold. But here is the other one, just so you can see it one more time. So the only difference is this one over here is made with the gold foil, gold embossing powder, and the paper is more of a tight paper. And then this one is clear embossing powder, a tiny black border, and the paper is a little more squiggly, if you see it. It's more like cursive writing. So let's do this one just for the sake of tonight. So we have our basic gray cardstock. If I can get it out here. We've got a piece of white for the inside. We have our gold for our layer. This is our basic gray that we're going to stamp on and then cut out, emboss and cut out. And then I've already die cut a little leaf and a little flower and another little leaf and another little flower. Now these are from the Magnolia stamp set and dies. Okay. And then I don't know what this white piece of paper is for. Maybe for the just a note. Yeah, I think it must be. See, I put the kit together. I can't even remember what everything is for. All right. Sometimes that's how it goes. So this time, first, we're going to do our stamping. So I'm going to do the easy part first. I'm going to do just a note to let you know you are loved. And that is in the Magnolia Mood stamp set. So, okay, here's another quick tip. So sometimes when I am making cards, I will make something that I am not going to use right then. So a lot of the time I'll stick it in a little clear envelope and stick it right in my stamp set. Then if I go to use this stamp set again and I'm trying to make a quick card, if I open it up and there's something already in there, sometimes that will work for whatever I'm making. Okay, so we need this, just a note to let you know you are loved. And we're just going to stick that right on our block. And while we have this open, we're going to get out the happy birthday for our next card. So I just stuck it on another block. I have 3 of these blocks here, this block H. That's one of my favorites. All right, we're going to take out the Magnolia stamp because we know we're going to need that. And I'm just going to stick it on this block. And this one fits on block E. It's a little bit of a bigger stamp. So we're going to set that to the side. That way we have those ready for our next card. Okay. We need basic gray. And we're going to stamp just a note to let you know you are loved. All right, and I'm going to practice stamp. Well, I think I might have got too much over there. But we're going to try it and see. Since I gave myself a really large piece of paper, we have plenty of space to try it out. Just like that, and that's not bad. Okay, so if you do notice when you turn that over to check it that you have a little extra bit of a smudge there, if you don't want to practice stamp or clean your stamp off and try again, then when you stamp, just make sure that you set your stamp down very gently and press gently. Because a lot of the time, that extra smudge of ink won't come off unless you press hard. And then see how it's still got that extra ink on there. All right, we're just going to stamp it up a little bit. And then I'll clean it off later. All right, so there we've got our just a note to let you know you are loved. And we're going to need to trim that off. So I'll just put it in my trimmer here at, let's see, 3/4 would cut it off. So let's go 7/8. Nope, that's still going to come off a little dot of my J. So we're going to cut it at 1 inch. All right. So there's our little sentiment. And we're just going to trim it at an angle here. Kind of to give it a little shape. There we go. I'm so glad you guys are joining me tonight. All right, so now we need to stamp our flower and we're going to emboss it. So I'm going to get all of my stuff out and ready. I have my embossing tool, my little bin of embossing powder, my embossing buddy, and my my scrap paper and my little tray. So I'm going to take my Versamark ink and I'm going to ink up my stamp. And I don't know if this makes a difference or not, but I store my Versamark ink this way in my cupboard so it's upside down. Just because all of our other ink pads automatically store upside down so that the ink stays close to the surface. So I feel like with this one, it would benefit it to store the same way. Now, I can't tell you that for sure because I haven't done any scientific testing about that. I haven't even done non-scientific testing. But I feel like it's a reasonable hypothesis. All right. And then you just want to look and make sure that all the places got pretty shiny. See how they're shiny with that ink? I feel like this little part right here didn't quite get shiny. That's better. Okay. Might be about time for me to add some more ink to that too. Okay, and then we're going to put it down and press and then lift it up. Now see, I do think it might have needed more ink because it's kind of pale, but we're going to see. We're going to see how it goes. All right, I'm going to set this off to the side because I need to use a little different cleaner on that than just my chamois. Okay. Now I'm going to move my Stampin' pad out of the way just in case my embossing powder spills. Sometimes it does. Sometimes the embossing powder does not stay where it's supposed to. I was telling someone the other day, one time I was embossing and I sneezed. You do not want to be embossing and sneeze. Not anywhere near your embossing powder. It just like everywhere. All right, so now we're going to kind of shake it around a little bit, make sure it gets everywhere. And then we're going to very carefully try to dump it right back in its tub. And I totally just remembered that I forgot to use my embossing buddy. So hopefully it will all turn out all right. I should have used that. Okay, so let me tell you what the proper step should have been. I should have used the embossing buddy and then put on my Versamark and then put on my embossing powder. But that's not what I did. Sometimes I do things out of order. All right, now here we go. I'm gonna try and hopefully show you the magic that is embossing. But it could get a little bit loud, so all right, did you see that? Did you see how magical that is? Ah, I love it. Okay, quick tip. Did you see how I turned it over and heated the back of my paper after I embossed? That's not really to set the embossing powder at all. But what I've found is if you turn it over and warm up the back, it kind of flattens it out a little bit. It's still not perfectly flat. See how it's a little bent because of the heat. But it does flatten it out more than it would be otherwise. Now we're going to cut it out. So if you don't have the dies, you could fussy cut this, but I'm going to show you how to cut it out with your mini cut and emboss machine. So when I use mine, I use this gray plate. This is the one meant for embossing, but I found that it works for die cutting, so that's what I use. All right, and then this, you're gonna have one plate that's all cut up that you use all the time on the bottom. So you're gonna put that one on the bottom, but you're not gonna line it up with the first one. See how it's back a little bit? That's how you want it. All right, then your paper goes on next, and it's gonna be face up. And then your die. So in the Magnolia Mood dies, all right, let's see. It's got to be on this side. That's where you can see it. There are all of these options. And this one right here is the one that's going to cut out our stamped image. These ones are cool too. You're going to see a cutout of that later. But this is the one we need for right now. Okay, and then we're going to line it up so that it sits right over the top. Just like that. And then, well, it's kind of, because it's bent, it's kind of being a little funny. What I like to do is try to lower my plate down so that the whole thing goes down at the same time. I found that if I lower one side and then the other, sometimes it scoots around, and that's a little bit annoying to me, so I don't like that. All right, and then we're just gonna roll it on through. And then I'll show you when it comes to the other side what it looks like from the side. See how they don't line up? They kind of go zoop, and then on the side, zoop. One side of the center sticks out, and one side it pokes in. But that's the way it needs to be to go through that little machine. All right. So there's our cutout. See how pretty that is? Okay, we're just going to put that up there. Toss this little extra piece away somewhere. I moved my little trash bin, so I have no idea where to throw things. It's usually down here to my right, but if I throw things down there, they'll just bang into the camera. That's not helpful. All right, now I'm going to put this die away. We are going to use it again, but I don't want it to get lost in the meantime. So I'm just going to set it off there to the side. And then if I ask about it later, you guys can be like, you just set it off to the side. It's fine. It's right there. Okay, so these are our pieces. And the only thing we still need to do is cut our designer series paper. So this is from this set of designer series paper, Nature's Sweetness. So we're just going to need to find the one that has the little words on it. So there's two that are similar to this, the two that have words. So this one is the one with like little scribbly writing. And then this one is the one with the typing. And that's the one that I used for this. Now you can use whatever one you would like, but I'm just telling you what I did. Because a lot of the time people say, how did you do it? So that's why, this is why I'm telling you. All right, and we're going to cut this at 3 inches. So this is from a 12 by 12 piece of paper. And when I gave it to when I set it up for my class, I cut it into 6 pieces. So everyone would get 1/6 of the pack of paper. So it's kind of nice. You get to see all the pieces and have a little bit of each one without having to buy the whole thing. And then once you check it out, then you can decide if you love it or you want to leave it. Love it or leave it. All right, we're going to put our liquid glue on a little around the edge and a squiggle down the middle. Oh, and I put it upside down. There is a right way to this, so if you look at it close, you can see the words do go a certain way. Then we're going to line it up on our gold foil piece. Just like that. Okay, now we're going to fold our card. This was basic gray, and this is a standard size card, so it's 8.5 by 5.5. And then scored at 4 1/4. We have our white piece for inside, and this one is 3 3/4 by 5. So it's a little smaller than the usual 4 by 5 1/4. But I thought because the front was a little smaller, it would look nicer with a smaller inside. So it just goes like this. Okay. And then this piece we're going to put up on dimensionals. So now we got to get our scissors out and do another little trim of the sides, because we're getting close to the end of this one. but we're not going to waste any of it. All right. So we're going to put one by each corner. I don't like to put them right at the corner, kind of inside a little bit. And then I like to have one in the middle. Sometimes when you put it in the envelope, that middle gets squished. It gets a little squished down. And hopefully it won't do that if it has that little dimensional right in the center. All right, so then we're going to line that up and stick it down. We're going to put some dimensionals on this. Magnolia. And we're going to stick that right here. And then we need our little gold pieces. So what we're going to do is just grab some mini glue dots and we're going to stick them on with that. All right, so I'm going to stick one right here. And you really can put these wherever you want them to be. I feel like this is a good spot for one, like that. Then we'll stick one over on this side. Here, there. I'm not doing them exactly the same way I did on the first one. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Brenda. Thank you. I thought this would be it's a good sympathy card. It's not, I don't know, it's pretty. But it's not real, I don't feel like it's too, I don't know, I want to say fluffy, but I don't know if that's the right term. So there's that. I really love this. Look, I have to show you up close. See that little tiny bud? I love that little tiny flower. Here, look. Isn't that pretty? So pretty. Okay, so we're going to put this last one on. Let's see. It keeps sticking where I don't exactly want it to stick. I wanted it to go in a little bit. There we go. All right, so there's our little flowers, and then we're just going to put our sentiment on. And of course, we need more dimensions. Okay, now I just want to show you. When you do put this sentiment on, you're going to want to put your dimensionals here on the bottom because this is already popped up a little bit. If you put it on the top, it's going to be off kilter a little bit. Now, if you want it to be that way, that's fine. You can do whatever you want. I just want you to know that if you want it to be more flat, then what you want to do is just put your dimensionals on the bottom. So then we're just going to stick it right here. Okay, and there's that one. And then we have one more tonight. So the last one, let me move this embossing stuff out of our way. The last one is this one. And I don't know if this is my favorite. I know, it's such a pretty flower, isn't it? You could probably move that sentiment down. Actually, look, I did with the first one. It covers up less of the flower. Oh, it's probably smart, but I can't move it now. I mean, I could, but it will take a little too much effort. All right, so this is our last one. Now, I made this a happy birthday card, but you can see how this would be good for a lot of different occasions. It could be a pretty congratulations card. It could be a pretty wedding card. It could be a pretty sympathy card. I feel like it would work for almost any occasion. Maybe not for someone who doesn't like flowers, but that's about it, right? Okay, so let me show you how I did this one. All right, we're going to slide out our pieces here. And it's really not tricky, but there's a little bit of something to it. All right, so we've got our basic white piece for our base. This is the piece for stamping on. It's just a really big piece of basic white. I have a piece of white for the inside. And then there are actually two pieces of white for the front. This one and this one. And I'm going to show you the trick about that in a second. And I've die cut these pretty, well, let's see, you can't really see it that way. But look at those pretty magnolias. They're so pretty. Hold on. There's a little bit stuck in there. We gotta try and pull it out. My die cutting, after you do a couple, you kind of have to increase your pressure a little bit. And I might not have got it all the way with this one. Right. I might have to run that one back through. Let me see if this other one is better. Oh yeah. All right, this one's perfect. As perfect can be. All right. So here is we're just going to fold this piece for the outside here first. All right, and this is thick basic white. And let's go ahead and put this white on the inside. Now, you on a white card, a lot of the time you may not put a piece of white on the inside. The reason that I do like to put a piece of white on the inside, especially if I'm giving a card to someone who I think might put it up for a while, who might want to look at it, who might want to display it. I usually put all my cards up for a little while. And I know that after about a week, sometimes if they don't have an extra piece inside, they kind of start to, this back part starts to bend and tip and fall over a little bit. So I try to add an extra piece in there so that that doesn't happen. All right, so we have our white flower, and then we have our two white pieces. Now these are just slightly different sizes. So this one is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. This one is 5 by 3 3/4. So what I did on this card, if you look close, hopefully you can tell. Do you see this little pink edge around here? What you could do is cut that piece out of pink. That's not what I did. So I didn't want my pink to be quite as bright as Bubble Bath pink. So I'm looking for my little sponge dauber. I don't know where I put it. Oh, here it is. So what I did was I took my Bubble Bath ink, and now you could do this with any color. It wouldn't have to be pink. You could do blue, you could do any color that you want just a little bit of that color, but not as much as you would get with a piece of cardstock. So then I just took that and I sponged along the edges a little bit of pink. And it doesn't take that long. Little sponge daubers, they come in a pack of 6, I think. And I try to keep one for each color. So I have a little bag of them around here somewhere. And I have tiny labels on them that tell what color they are. All right, can you see how that's adding just a little bit of color around those edges? You don't have to be super specific about it because it doesn't have to be real even. And most of it is going to be covered up. But you just want, see how it gets just that little pink edge around it? I know, I love sponging. I'm kind of, I don't know, that's one of the first things I started doing. So I'm still very spongy. I like to sponge. All right, so then we're going to take this white piece that's just a smidge smaller, and we're going to load it up with a thin line of glue around the edge, and then a squiggle down the middle. Okay, we're gonna line it up so that just a little bit of that edge sticks out. Now again, we did 8ths, so it's probably about 1/16 of an edge around this. So see how that's just a little bit of pink, but it's probably not as bright as it would be if there was a bubble bath piece behind there. So it's just a little bit. All right, we're going to turn that over. Get our dimensionals. Oh, I lost my little partial sheet. Where did I put it? Maybe I got rid of it. I don't think I did. Oh, there it is. It was hiding under my other cards. Okay. Everything is hiding. My scissors were hiding too. All right, so now we're really on the last of our dimensionals here. Okay, we're going to put one in each corner. Like that. And the very last one on the sheet, that's perfect timing, goes in the center. So we're going to take those little backs off. I'm just throwing them all in a pile. Hopefully I'll remember later that I have a little pile of trash right there. I'll put that over there too. All right, so plus then if you don't have that color of cardstock but you want an edge that color and you have the ink, oh, I put that totally crooked. That's not okay with me. All right, we're doing a little bit of surgery here. So bear with me. Right, I just needed to scoop just a little bit. Sometimes I wish I wasn't quite so particular, but I am. And there's no changing it, right? I'm picky about crafts. All right, there. Now it's straight. Okay, so this one we're gonna stick on next, right? And we're just gonna use some little glue dots. So I'm going to turn it over and just stick a couple glue dots, because this one we're going to have it laid flat right against the card, and the other one is going to be, I didn't stamp my happy birthday. All right, so we're going to have to change our design just a little bit because I didn't stamp our happy birthday. All right, we're going to put this way, right there. And now on this piece of paper, I can't believe I didn't stamp that happy birthday. Well, I can believe it because I was excited to tell you about the sponging. That's what it was. All right. So now we're going to take our Memento black and we're going to make, let's see. I'll show you the difference here real quick. This one on the left, see how it's a little bit paler? When I stamped that outline, I used Memento black. This one here on the right, when I stamped this outline, I used StazOn because I wasn't sure if I was going to do more watercoloring on this one. So that's the difference between the two. So let's use StazOn just because we don't generally use that. And I can show you the difference a little bit with that. All right. Now, somebody told me this cool trick about your StazOn ink. You know how it has that little plastic cover? I think it was Tammy Jo Tanner who told me this. If you put dimensionals on the back of your lid, you can see them in there. See those dimensionals? Then it will hold that lid in place and it will still protect your ink, but you won't have to pick it off of there every time you open your ink up. So just so you know, that's a super helpful tip. Now we still need to clean this off because we used Versamark on it. So what I'm going to do, this is actually StazOn cleaner. I'm just going to tap a little bit of it on there. You can use this on your rubber stamps. It's perfectly safe. I have heard that you shouldn't use it on photopolymer. But what I do if I need to use it on photopolymer is I just make sure that I wash my stamp off afterwards. So if I clean it off and I scrub it on here, then I would take my chamois after that and rub it over that, because there's some discussion that possibly whatever's inside the StazOn, I think it's the alcohol, like rubbing alcohol, but I don't know for sure. But whatever's inside there will cause the photopolymer to break down a little bit. I don't know if that's true or not 100%. I've tried to research it. I can tell you that none of my photopolymer stamps appear to be damaged from being cleaned. All right, so now I'm going to stamp this on here. And I'm going to press in the center just like we do. And see how, all right, see how dark that turns out? It's really bold. It's StazOn seems to be a little more of a bold color. Even, I would say, even as the ink dries out, the boldness of it is darker. Now, you can see what a difference it makes on your stamp though too. Like not all of it comes off, and it's not water soluble, so it's definitely different than Memento. So then what I like to do is just take my StazOn cleaner, tap it around there, and then I scrub it on my Stampin' Scrub. So I still have Stampin' Scrub and I have my chamois most of the time with me. If I'm going to use StazOn or if I'm going to use Versamark. That's usually, and see how clean that comes? Now, the photopolymer will not come that clean. They will stain. But in general, your red rubber stamps will come clean with the StazOn cleaner. All right, now, I said we were going to be fast, and I don't feel like I'm being very fast at all. All right, and I'm even not cleaning all my stamps. I'm trying really hard here, friends. Okay, so I'm going to use my trusty watercolor pencils. These I have had for many years, okay? Can you see them here? And I've been coloring more with them recently. I just feel like I really like them. I really like coloring with watercolor pencils. All right, so we're gonna go, I'm gonna try to be quicker than I usually am. All right, and if we had lots of time, I would try to share with you all of my coloring tips. But I don't know that you want to sit around listening to me for quite that long. But as I color, I can tell you a few little things. I picked up a colored pencils book at my local library not that long ago, and I learned a few tricks. I've always loved to color. I've been coloring for a really long time. In fact, some friends of mine from high school still have pictures that I colored for them. But that's been a long time ago. So when you're working with colored pencils, you can do a lot of layering, especially watercolor pencils. So as I'm coloring here, I'm trying to color where the darkest parts of my flower petals would be first. And I'm coloring in light strokes. Now, you can color, some people who color a lot will color in only one direction. So you could color this way, like short strokes in one direction will give you a nice smooth color. You can color it small, round circles. That helps. A big thing that I've found for me, and I also tend to write this way, is how you hold your pencil. So I know that most people hold their pencil this way when they write. I hold mine this way, and it tends to give, especially when I color, it gives you a flatter end of your pencil to color with, and so that makes your coloring a little more even. Your strokes are more even and they blend a little nicer. So what's nice about a lot of stamps is they give you a good idea where your shadows are going to be. You kind of don't have to guess. Sometimes if I'm being really fussy, I will look up a picture of the actual flower or whatever I'm trying to color to get an idea where the light would hit it and where the shadows would fall. But that really tends to be when I'm concentrating more on my technique than actually finishing the card. So if you're concentrating on finishing, you may want to just color and not bother with too much shading or like too much of your techniques, you may want to just color and be done with it. I think part of the reason why I work so slowly, I do feel like I work slowly, is because I'm always trying to learn uh, the best way to do a thing or the easiest way to do a thing. So sometimes I'll be researching like what's the best way to do this or do that, and I spend more time doing that than actually working on the project, which could be fine, right? If you have lots of time to work on your project, but it's probably not so fine if you need to get a card made in say less than 30 minutes and you're spending just too much time coloring or looking up how to color or looking up what real magnolias look like so that you can get them close to the real thing. All right, so there is our pink, and then I use this color here that I think is probably shaded spruce or something close to that. Now my colored pencils here are older colored pencils, but I do have some new ones I haven't even opened yet. So if you stick around at the end, I can open them up and show you what you would get if you were to order the watercolor pencils now. Now, of course, you can use any colored pencils on this, or you could use the Stampin' Blends, and they color beautifully too. I just use these because I thought it's nice to try different mediums, different coloring tools. It's kind of nice that I can use them for my classes and we can explore those options without so people can kind of get a good idea what kind of tools they like the best. The one thing I really like about colored pencils is I can stamp my images and then I can take them upstairs and sit with my family. I can be coloring, working on my cards, and I don't have to, I can just take the little box with me. I can take the little box and my stamped images, and I don't need much more than that. The blends are wonderful too, but I can only carry so many of them upstairs without dropping them or spilling them around. They don't fit on my my little TV tray quite as nicely, but they are beautiful to color with too. All right, so there is our green, and then I'm going to take a little bit of a different color and I'm going to color the center of that flower. I think maybe this, see how that's like a little purpley sort of color? Let's try that. we go. All right, I think that looks really nice. And it's pretty soft. All right, and then the one other thing I wanted to show you just before we cut this out and get it put together is if you have a Wink of Stella brush, where's my Wink of Stella? You can use it similar to a watercolor pencil, a watercolor watercolor painter. But not only will it blend your colors, but it also adds that little bit of glitter. So I don't know. Let's see. I don't know if I can get it to show up on there. But it does blend your color and add a little bit of shimmer at the same time. And sometimes that's really nice for your flowers. It's just to have a little bit of sparkle. I wish I could tell if you could see that or not. I don't think you can. Oh, maybe. I think it showed up for 1 second there. All right, let me just color the rest real quick. I think you might have been able to see how it blended that up. All right, and then the other thing about StazOn, just so you know, is it works really great for watercoloring because it is not a water-based ink, it's a solvent-based ink, and that means that it won't run into the other colors. So if you stamped with Balmy Blue or any of the classic inks, the Bubble Bath, and then you went to watercolor over top of them, that ink would blend into what you're doing, which could be really beautiful. However, you might not want it to do that, depending on what you want. Okay, so now we can cut this out. I know this is taking a long time tonight. I hope everyone's okay with that. Well, I mean, I suppose you can always go and come back, right? You can, and if you watch me later, you can even speed me up so I can be like super speedy stamper. All right, remember you're going to lay that down right on the top and roll it through. Right. Look how pretty that is. That magnolia is so pretty. Okay, sorry. It really is. It's just so pretty. If you don't have that, you might want to get it. Okay. So here we go. And since I forgot to stamp the happy birthday, that will be the last thing we need to do. Okay, so we're just going to turn our flower over. Oh, you see that? I don't know if you can see that sparkliness. Let me see. I don't think you can. Maybe a little bit right there. It's very shiny though. It's really sparkly. All right, and now I get another, I don't know, have another big sheet of dimensionals, but I have these little guys, little minis. So we'll just poke a bunch of those around. Okay. All right, so then our flower's going to go right there. And now, since I forgot the happy birthday, let's grab all of these real quick. Over here in my little scrap bin, I have a bunch of little white scraps. Because what's another thing that you have a lot of and you may need a lot of? Little white scraps. All right, so we'll stamp our happy birthday. And I'm just going to stamp it in memento this time. Right, and we'll just stamp it right on here. And then you can tell I use this little piece for something else. You see that little sprinkly blue there? But it's fine because it's on the back, right? No one is going to take the card apart and see that little piece. No one. If you're watching this and you get this card, do not take it apart and get that little piece. All right, so then we're just going to stick our happy birthday on there. And that's our card. Okay, you guys, we made 4 cards tonight. This is probably one of my longest videos in the history of videos. But I'm so glad that you joined me, and I hope that you'll be back for the next one. It'll be in, I don't know when it will be. Let's see, this is the 3rd week of the month, so it'll be on the 1st week of the month. So it'll be May, whatever the 1st week in May is, that's when it will be. Thank you very much, Kim. Okay, so here are all of our cards from tonight. We had this one and this one. Let's see. What's best? If I hold it up there, maybe. There's this one. And then the first 2 were this one and this one. Okay, so those were our cards for tonight. I will send out the directions for those sometime this week. I'm working a lot of hours this week, so it may not be until about Thursday. Yeah, I could make them again at the next class. I hope you can be at the next class, Kim. All right, I may have some of those again at the next class. So we'll see. But thank you for joining me tonight. I hope you'll come back again the next time. I usually go live the 1st and the 3rd Sundays of the month with a card class for you. And then my in-person class is on the 3rd Friday. So the next one would be the 3rd Friday in May. Yes, if you're not up north. I know, it's getting close to that time, isn't it? Thank you, Cat Pave. I haven't seen you in a while. I hope you're doing okay, Kathy. I'm going to clean up my mess and go upstairs and have some spaghetti. And I will see you all the next time. Until then, happy stamping, everyone.